This is move 5, and black is dead lost. An enticing intro to a chess video that will surely ruin your chess development. Because when hits the fan, actual chess strategy will always triumph over your addiction to tricks and traps. But how do you learn real chess strategy without being bored to death? The English opening. E5 G3 followed by these normal moves, and very soon you get to a fascinating position where both sides have to actually use their brain to come up with a plan of attack. Insane, I know. This setup is known as the Botvinik Triangle, a flexible pawn formation that allows white to choose between two attacking plans. A double-edged fiery kingside assault, or a mild and reserved queenside strategy. Fire, or ice. I will demonstrate using two instructive example games that both strategies are equally effective. But first, let's take a look at the basic opening moves. This is the setup we are aiming for, but to understand the reason behind each of the following opening moves, keep the square d5 in mind. 1 c4 controls d5. Knight c3 controls d5. G3 makes way for the bishop, which controls d5, and finally, d3 solidifies the center. And knight goes to e2 so as to not be in the way of the bishop, but also to exert control over another key square in this opening. f4. This will all make sense in a minute. In the meantime, I present to you the Botvinik English opening. An opening trademarked by this pawn triangle at the center. But what's so special about this triangle, exactly? If you draw an arrow from your base central pawn to the tip, you get the general direction in which you must focus your attack. In this position, you want to attack on the king side. Queen side. King side, you get the idea. But what about this position? That's right, you can attack on any side you wish to. That's what we refer to as flexibility in chess terms. But you may be wondering, why I'm not showing the opponent's pieces here. It's because this is a system opening. Meaning you can play it against virtually any opening set up by black, and the ideas remain the same. One opening for everything. Like a chicken. Because apparently, chickens have one opening for everything down there. Everything. Think about it. Anyway, in this position b4, triggers a queen side advance. And remember this key square? Yes, f4, triggers a king side attack. But never play both moves. That would be like throwing a double punch with both your hands at the same time. Cool, but it doesn't work. If you attack on this side, you defend on this side. Chaos where I attack, order where I defend. One hand to jab, the other to keep guard. That's the key to an expertly played game of chess. And a long-lasting marriage. c4 knight f6, g3 g6, bishop g2 bishop g7. e4 and d6 is the king's Indian defense. White completes the Botvinik English setup, and now, the stage is set. This game will show you how a simple queenside attack can work better than a tactically sophisticated king-side assault. The key move is b4, but first, white prepares it with rook b1. Both sides develop their pieces, and after b5, white's plan is now crystal clear. He wants to aim his pieces at black's queen side, push pawns to break open the position, infiltrate, and gain some type of advantage, material, positional or otherwise. Black's best plan from my experience is trading this bishop, slotting pieces on these light square weaknesses, and then playing for checkmate. In this game, however, black goes for the classic king's Indian idea of pushing this f-pawn up the board. But after takes an a6. Look at this monster of a bishop breathing down this diagonal. After takes and knight f6, the white rook initiates queenside infiltration. The queen finds a safe square, but after queen a4 and bishop retreats, black is now purely on the defensive. After rook b1, queen c7 protects the c6 pawn. But bishop a3 is another monster bishop hitting 3 targets in black's territory. This is not a pleasant position for black. Knight d7. Black swings a piece over to the queen side to aid his defense. But after queen b4, hitting black's pawn and knight c5 blocking, the vile sorcery begins. Knight b5! Exclamation. The queen is threatened, and the pawn protecting this knight is threatened. But why can't black simply capture this knight? Well, the bishop, all the way from Yemen, is protecting the knight tactically. Chaos where I attack, order where I defend. The United States You know what, let's not go there. Queen d7. Takes and after queen a5. What is white threatening? Let's put our calculation skills to the test. Assume black plays a useless move. Now knight captures bishop, and if queen takes knight protecting this knight, there is a piece hanging in that position. But if knight takes bishop, and knight takes, 2 black pieces would be hanging in that position. Which one would you capture? Let me know down below. So black played f4. Because when all is said and done, he will have the move f3, forking the bishop and knight. Fancy, but it takes master level visualization to see the kind of position you will have when all is said and done. Takes. Rook threatens bishop, which retreats and threatens a pawn. f3 forks the bishop and knight, takes, rook takes, and rook takes. At master level, you will be able to see this position, all the way back in this position. But not only see it, you'll be able to evaluate which side is better, based on the following metrics. Material. White is a pawn up. Pawn structure, white has a better structure. Piece activity, all equal, except for this monster queen at the center of the board. Another point for white. And finally, king safety. Look at white's king. And now look at black's king. White is only one pawn up, but he has a killing advantage in this position. You go through this thinking process, and then choose a better move than f4 here. That's chess at elite level. So, white has a huge advantage here, but how do you actually win from a superior position? You go for your opponent's biggest and most obvious weakness. And something often gives. Takes, and I know none of my mortal chess subscribers would ever lose from a position this dominant. Right? A beautifully crafted queenside attack, but this is how you use the Botvinik English to go straight for your opponent's throat. c4 knight f6, followed by a series of moves that should be familiar to you by now. Until this position, after knight c5, black kick starts a king-side assault, by playing which move? That's right, f4. Every time you push the pawns in front of your king, make sure you have enough pieces close by to keep your king safe. It's a double-edged strategy, but some players love to, as they say, risk it for the biscuit. Knight e6. Black wants to lodge that knight into this hole on d4, and f5, is the king-side attack taking shape. But what is white's plan of attack, exactly? You want to form a queen and bishop battery on this diagonal, exchange these two bishops, put pieces and pawns on the resulting dark square weaknesses, and then find the checkmate. An elegant plan delivered to you, via robot voice. And for all you guys complaining in the comments, AI voice this, AI voice that. When the first batch of AI girlfriends is finally out, I want you all to keep complaining. No switching sides all of a sudden. Anyway, let's see white's plan in action. In this position, queen b6, is a good move to remind us that, yes, we have our plan of attack, but so does the opponent. Black has a nasty threat here. After pawn takes and pawn takes, can you spot the idea? A simple move by white puts an end to all the fun, and then queen h6 enters black's position via a dark square weakness. Bishop d7. Black is focusing on development, while his house is on fire. But it is hard to come up with a better move for him. g5, knight h5, and the idea for white here is f6 and checkmate. There is a tiny issue with that plan though. So knight f4 attempts to remove the defender. Knight g7, f6, and after knight e8, black is hanging on by a thread. A king-side attack is like a high-tech, fancy weapon that requires mastery and experience to use. Personally, I prefer a much simpler, more primitive queenside attack, because take this beauty for example. It won't win you a war, but it will get your laundry and dishes done faster, and more enthusiastically. Anyway, in this position, a simple plan of knight retreats, a rook maneuver to h4 and checkmate, is as inevitable as my landlord coming for my money on the 1st of every month. He enters my gate, knocks on my door, and sure as he demands some of my hard-earned money. The best way to help me grow my channel and stick it to him is by watching another video right after this one. So help me out, boys.